Our journey along the Thames begins at the port of Tilbury, the gateway to London. Our next stop along the river examines the Thames Barrier, which protects the city from flooding, as well as London's eastern financial district. The Thames begins its largest meander at the Greenwich Peninsula, and then creates a U-shape around the Isle of Dogs, home to the Canary Wharf financial complex. The next leg of our journey takes us to the first in a series of riverside landmarks, the Tower of London, before we explore the modern landscape of the most ancient section of the metropolis, the City of London. We end our journey at the Palace of Westminster. We first stop in Essex, about 40 kilometres from London, on the river's north bank at Tilbury Fort. The curved shape and narrowness of the Thames at Tilbury has made the town a suitable location to defend London against invasion. The first permanent fort was built on this bank by King Henry VIII in 1538, and was later the site for Queen Elizabeth I's historic speech to rally her army against possible attack from the Spanish Armada. The current star-shaped design, with its angular bastions and moats, was engineered by Charles II, standing today as one of the finest examples of 17th century fortifications in the country. The port of Tilbury serves as London's major gateway for shipping cargo. The original port was built by what would later become the East and West India Docks Company in the late 19th century. With the rise of railways and increases in ship size, docking near the centre of London became less vital to the shipping industry than access to deep waters and a reduced time navigating the winding Thames. So, by the 1970s, Tilbury had become the largest container port in the UK. Today it remains one of the country's 3 major container ports and is also part of the London Cruise Terminal, serving as a turnaround point for ships from Baltic and Northern European destinations. As we fly westward, we enter the Greater London area, where the city's orbital motorway, the M25, crosses the Thames at the Queen Elizabeth Bridge. The cable-supported bridge, which opened in 1991, is 812 metres long and 137 metres high. It is the easternmost crossing along the Thames and was only the second constructed to the east of London Bridge in over 1,000 years. The overpass is part of the Dartford crossing, which also includes 2 tunnels that allow for northbound traffic. The Crossness pumping station rests along the southern bank of the Thames in the London borough of Bexley. The station was last operative in the 1950s, but represents an important part of Britain's industrial heritage and stands as a high mark in Victorian age engineering. Sir Joseph Bazalgette designed the Romanesque-style pumping station in the 1860s in an effort to combat London's infamous sewage complications, known as the Great Stink. A dilemma caused by an unusually hot summer coupled with the introduction of flush toilets. A trust was created to restore this historic installation. We now arrive at the Woolwich Ferry, a river crossing that links the London boroughs of Greenwich and Newham. A ferry service has allowed for transportation across the Thames at this point since the 14th century. The current terminals, financed as a free public service by the London River Service, were opened in 1965 and allow passage for both vehicles and pedestrians. It is estimated that the ferries carry over 1 million vehicles and 2.5 million people per year. Near Woolwich, London is protected from flooding by the Thames Barrier, the world's second largest movable flood defence system. During exceptionally high tides in the North Sea and storm surges, the barrier, which spans 520 metres, has 10 steel gates that are raised into position across the river. Each of the 4 large central gates weighs nearly 3,300 tonnes and stands almost 5 stories high. The barrier is comprised of 6 navigable and 4 smaller non-navigable channels. The industrial district of Silvertown has been the riverside home to the Tate & Lyle sugar refineries since 1878. It sits on the aptly named Sugar Quay, and the few remaining docks are still used by sugar cargo vessels today. Adjacent on a former Docklands site is London City Airport. It has just a single 1,500-metre runway, limiting the aircraft that can use it, and handles traffic mostly for business travellers. The airport, opened in 1988, is Greater London's 5th busiest, but is the only one that can actually claim to be in London itself. And just beneath the flight path is one of the newer additions to London's skyline. Originally built to celebrate the turn of the 21st century, the O2 Millennium Dome is a large entertainment centre that features an indoor arena, cinema, exhibition space, bars and restaurants. Its location on the Greenwich Peninsula by the Prime Meridian was the inspiration for its design, based on the measurement of time. The 12 support towers represent each of the months, and its diameter measures 365 metres for the number of days in the year. Referred to as the Old Royal Naval College, Sir Christopher Wren designed Greenwich's architectural centrepiece in the late 17th century to serve as a naval hospital. Built on the grounds where Tudor queens Mary and Elizabeth were born, the site was converted to a training establishment for the Royal Navy in 1873 until 1998. The buildings now host a variety of education, communal and business activities. The buildings of the Royal Naval College were split to maintain the river view of the Queen's House. King James commissioned Inigo Jones to craft the home for his wife in the early 17th century. Introducing the concept of Palladianism, the design was viewed as revolutionary in its day. The Queen's House has displayed the artwork of the National Maritime Museum since 1937. As we make our way towards central London, the Thames makes one of its larger meanders around the Isle of Dogs, home to one of the city's 2 main financial districts, Canary Wharf. This area, located on the original West India Docks, formerly the busiest port in the world, measures 1.3 million square metres. It is mostly office and retail space. 90,000 Londoners work in the district, which is the headquarters for many professional service firms, media companies and international banks. The development's first buildings were completed in 1991, including the UK's second tallest building, 1 Canada Square. The original docks were built in the early 1800s, operated by a group of wealthy merchants and used by all vessels engaged in the West India trade. 100 years later, the docks came under the control of the Port of London Authority. As we approach Canary Wharf from the west, we capture a brilliant view of the Thames as it courses towards central London. A spectacle to behold as evening closes in. We continue our nighttime tour of the city with one of London's most iconic symbols, Tower Bridge. In the late 19th century, a surge of commercial development in the city's East End exposed a need for a river crossing downstream of London Bridge. Yet the build needed to allow larger vessels to continue to access the Port of London. The result was a Victorian-style, combined suspension and drawbridge connected by two 65-metre towers which sit on piers. Seen now during the daylight, the 244-metre bridge connects the borough of Southwark on the south side to Tower Hamlets on the north side, passing the Tower of London, from which it derives its name. Tower Bridge features two high-level open-air walkways. Below, each deck is over 30 metres long, allowing a clearance of 45 metres when they are raised. The bridge once averaged 50 openings a day, but currently lifts about 1,000 times a year. The historic Tower of London was constructed after William the Conqueror's conquest of England in 1066. The castle primarily served as a royal residence, although the fortress was notoriously used as a prison during its peak period of the 16th and 17th centuries, earning a reputation of torture and death. Seen here is the 27-metre-high White Tower, the original keep of the grounds. Although used as a prison until World War II, the complex is best known today as the home of the crown jewels of the United Kingdom. HMS Belfast is moored on the Thames across from the Tower of London. The museum ship was the most powerful cruiser in the Royal Navy during her service in World War II and Korea. Also opposite the tower, we espy London's unique City Hall, headquarters for the Mayor of London and the London Assembly. Nicknamed the City, or the Square Mile, we capture a 3-square-kilometre area of hills on the north bank, which constituted most of London during the medieval period. The City of London, the second major financial centre of Greater London after Canary Wharf, has been a prime area of trade even prior to Roman times. The city's most noticeable landmark is 30 St Mary Axe, or the Gherkin. The tower was built on the site of the demolished headquarters for the Baltic Exchange after a terrorist bomb severely damaged it in 1992. Architect Norman Foster devised a 180-metre tall skyscraper with sustainability in mind. Its design captures as much sunlight as possible, and 6 massive air shafts create a natural ventilation system, as well as insulating the building through a double glazing effect. Less than half a kilometre away lies another feat of postmodern architecture, the Lloyd's Building. It is named for its tenant, the renowned insurance institution Lloyd's of London, but perhaps deserves the moniker the Inside Out Building. Architect Richard Rogers crafted this innovative structure to have its staircases, lift, power conduits and water pipes all on the exterior, brilliantly contained in 3 main and 3 secondary towers, which surround a vast open rectangular office space. At night, the illuminated Lloyd's building transforms to become a sparkling gem in the City of London. The Lime Street masterpiece garnered a string of awards for its design. The impressive 3-tiered dome and spire of St Paul's Cathedral is yet another of the City of London's great landmarks. Sir Christopher Wren's English Baroque design is the 4th cathedral to sit atop Ludgate Hill, the highest point in the city. Construction of St Paul's began several decades after its predecessor was destroyed in the Great Fire of London of 1666. In 2011, a massive 15-year effort to restore St Paul's Cathedral was completed. The cleaning and repair cost over $60 million, and an estimated 150,000 stones on the exterior of the building were individually cleaned. The monument looks equally spectacular in the evening as Wren's work of art gleams in the city's skyline. The cathedral has held a significant place in modern British history, holding Thanksgiving services for the Diamond Jubilees, which celebrated the 60-year reigns of Queen Victoria and later Queen Elizabeth. As we transition back to daytime, we journey across the river to the South Bank and find the Tate Modern, the world's most visited contemporary art gallery. Situated in a former oil-fired power station in the Bankside district, the gallery displays British art from the 16th century to present day. It is part of the Tate network, all named after sugar magnate Henry Tate, who laid the foundation for the collections. Alongside the Tate Gallery is Shakespeare's Globe, a modern reconstruction of the Elizabethan-era Globe Theatre, which opened in 1997. Because the Thames was much wider during Shakespeare's time, the new theatre was placed about 200 metres from the original site to recreate the riverside atmosphere enjoyed by patrons during the Bard's Day. The project was led by American actor Sam Wanamaker, and the designers used printed panoramas, written accounts, contracts, and one singular sketch to piece together the replica. The theatre stages both original Shakespearean works and world premieres of newly scribed plays. Expansion plans include an indoor Jacobean theatre, which will allow productions to be held all year round. The Tate Modern and the Globe are linked to St Paul's Cathedral by the Millennium Bridge, a pedestrian walkway. Despite its name, it opened 2 years after the millennium, due to unexpected swaying, earning it the alias Wobbly Bridge. Since the days of London's Roman founders, the crossing of the Thames from Southwark into the City of London has carried the name London Bridge. From the first timber bridges and the later medieval structure to the 19th century stone crossing and right up to the current box girder bridge, this crossing has always been positioned at the western end of the Pool of London. 30 metres upstream of the original overpass, the current London Bridge opened in 1973 and spans 283 metres. The City of London Central Railway terminus is located at Cannon Street. Trains approach the station across Cannon Street Bridge, which lies in between London and Southwark bridges. The terminus was first built in 1866 and has experienced its share of unfortunate damage due to bombings. First during the Second World War, and later by the IRA in 1976. London's most popular paid tourist attraction is the Millennium Wheel. More widely known as the London Eye, Europe's tallest Ferris wheel stands 134 metres high with a diameter of 120 metres. Crafted to resemble a gigantic spoked bicycle wheel, the Eye features 32 air-conditioned passenger capsules, representing the number of boroughs in London. The capsules weigh 10 tons each and carry up to 25 people. The wheel travels at a pace of 26 centimetres per second, making a revolution every 30 minutes, slow enough to allow passengers to enter and exit without needing to stop. Across the river, on the Middlesex bank of the Thames, lies the Palace of Westminster, where both Houses of Parliament convene. The perpendicular Gothic-style structure is a reconstruction of the original palace, destroyed in a major fire in 1834. However, the parliamentary estate has existed on the site since the 11th century, when it served as a primary residence for the kings of England until 1512. Ascending from the north end of the palace is the Elizabeth Tower. It's popularly known as Big Ben, although Big Ben is actually the nickname of the largest bell of the chiming clock. It's the largest of its kind in the world, and one of London's most famous landmarks. This strategic stretch of the Thames has placed it at the centre of many historic events, to which 19th century MP John Burns famously referenced the river as liquid history. As we revisit our course along the Thames, wonderfully illuminated during this enchanting London evening, esteemed romantic poet William Wordsworth best encapsulates the emotion of the mighty river in his sonnet, Composed upon Westminster Bridge, crafted as he departed London at dawn in the summer of 1802. Earth hath not anything to show more fair. Dull would he be of soul who could pass by a sight so touching in its majesty. This city now doth like a garment wear the beauty of the morning, silent, bare. Ships, towers, domes, theatres, and temples lie, open unto the fields and to the sky, all bright and glittering in the smokeless air. Never did sun more beautifully steep in his first splendour, valley, rock, or hill. Ne'er saw I, never felt, a calm so deep. The river glideth at its own sweet will. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep, and all that mighty heart is lying still. Wordsworth's venture out of London served as a wonderful muse for his poem. One can only wonder what the great poet would have written had he been afforded the view of the Thames winding through the London night from the air. A perfect place to end this journey.